Thanks for joining us, and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. Periodically, we'll bring you true stories of angelic encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. When we come back, we'll begin our next episode. Hello and welcome back to the Watchman on the Wall podcast. I recently heard a broadcast on the Prophecy Club from Terry Saka, and he is the CEO of Cornerstone Asset Metals, and Stan interviewed him. I actually learned a lot by listening to this broadcast, and I think you will too. They talk about this Build Back Better plan that's going on now, the Great Reset. I know many of you heard about the Great Reset and how we can prepare financially for these events that are coming. I was surprised to hear some of the things that Terry said about what's going on around the world and how it could be ushering in the mark of the beast and this one world order that the beast, or the Antichrist, will run in the not too distant future, apparently. So what can we do to prepare for these coming events? Well, I think a lot of that is answered in today's broadcast, and I think you'll find this very enlightening. I know I did, and I hope you enjoy it. Here now is Terry Saka, who joins Stan Johnson of the Prophecy Club.
Welcome to the Prophecy Club. We've got Terry Saka on with us today. This guy's been in the precious metals business for 13 years, owning his own company. And he actually gets beads of silver and turns that all the way into coins. And fantastic guy, Bible prophecy student, King James guy, wants to help us all to win souls. So Terry Saka, welcome back to the Prophecy Club, my friend.
Thank you, Stan. You know, this was an interesting time because when we were talking in emails and then I saw on one of your programs, you know, a big part of what I do, I mean, it's not just the business. I mean, silver just happens to be a component of what is part of our solution. But the bigger part, obviously, is the spiritual and what the world is getting ready to do as far as realigning it. And I remember you talked about in one of your programs how the church had just not repented. I think during the Trump era, we kind of got comfortable. And it goes back to the dreams I had years ago. They were back-to-back dreams where God had said, repent of your wicked ways, come back to me, and I'll heal your land. And if you do not, flames burst up at the bottom of the dream. And it was very riveting. And it was at the time that I was starting Cornerstone, where God had told me very specifically, when God speaks to you, you just don't say no. And he said to get my people ready. And that was a twofold component. Number one, it was financially get ready so we could be there not just for ourselves, but those around us and the churches and ministries. We cannot lose our wealth and be prepared for what is coming. And two, it was we needed to repent in the church. And I found we just didn't do that. We really have still been complacent. Most I see in the kingdom do not want to acknowledge what's coming. And I think that's what's leading up to this interview, because some of the events that are taking place right now are pretty extraordinary, and they're pushing hard for this. And this goes into the Great Reset, of course, but it gets a little deeper. So if you'd like, I can just kind of continue into it if you want to. But I just do want to thank you, because there are people that are recognizing the church did not repent. And what we mean by that, I believe, is we're still really distracted by, I say, the systems of the world. We're in the world, but not of it. And we're still extremely distracted, and we don't want to acknowledge that there are great and tremendous changes coming. This isn't just financial. Financial just so happens to be a component, because if we don't preserve and protect what God has given us already and have some of this backup intangible asset like silver and gold when the dollar crashes by design, what good are we to ourselves, our neighbors, and the church, To me, these couple points here that I wanted to bring up today are going to be very relevant to some of the things you've been talking about and some of the prophecies that have been laid out. And I wanted to bring those to your audience.
Okay, so I think the thing that most people want to know right now is what is going on. Like, for example, the stock market, it's crashing like they say that we've never seen. We're seeing all kinds of upheaval in the financial realms right now. And of course, our group are prophecy students, and we want to be prepared for what is going on. So can you, for the people that are not exactly experts in finances, what's going on? And obviously precious metals is a good part of the solution, but what's your take on that?
Yeah, it's definitely part of the solution because we could put our hands on it. We could store it in a vault. It's outside the system. But there's a few things going on beyond the inflation we're seeing here in the United States. Europe is experiencing inflation. The Eurozone, it's the highest they've ever seen. And it's continuing to grow. So this inflation is one aspect of it. But what's interesting about the stock market people need to be aware of is insiders, the owners, the executives, like Elon Musk and others. They are selling tremendous amount of stock. When insiders sell this level of stock proceeds, they know something is coming. And there is another big bomb on the financial side. Now, this has been going on for some time. So what I would probably say for those who really like to be risky, which I would caution, we're probably going to experience what we call a melt up, meaning the market could explode up one more time before it absolutely crashes. And we're seeing that also potentially in the crypto market. The reason it's important to say that is there's a big development in crypto. There was one called Tether. Tether pretty much controls Bitcoin and a lot of these coins. It's known as a stable coin, which means that one coin was attached to an American US dollar. Well, they just found out through some of the trials going on with Jeffrey Epstein's Ghislaine Maxwell that Tether was manufacturing the numbers. They don't have the actual money backing up the coins they produce. So there's billions and billions of these coins produced that were just totally fake. They're fiat, basically setting the stage to collapse the entire crypto market. Now, we believe there could be a melt up in the crypto market as well before this collapse happens. Why is that taking place? And we believe why some of that knowledge is coming out. We know the stock market is fake, meaning they've been printing trillions of dollars through Europe, as well as the American and Japanese central banks. It is completely fake. The only people benefiting, well, let me put it this way, as the retail, not the retail, but the insiders are selling into the market. What is concerning is the retail is buying it, which are we the people. So we the people have been buying the stock market, which is keeping it up, while the big money guys and the insiders are selling. That is very concerning because that's not the time to be buying. You should be doing what the big people are doing. So when you put that in context on the stock market and you understand what kind of inflation is raging through the world, you realize that the printed money they've been doing is coming to an end by design. Now, when I say by design, this starts wrapping up the whole crypto melt up, potentially the stock market melt up, and then eventual complete collapse. What they want to do is usher in central bank digital currencies. They will do that on the heels probably of a collapse of the competing cryptocurrencies. As the cryptocurrencies collapse, they'll come in and say, we need something more stable. We'll come in with these central bank digital currencies. Unfortunately, those central bank digital currencies are going to have a massive control mechanism to them. We keep hearing these terms. You heard, Mr. Biden say the term "Build Back Better." That was like a campaign slogan. That's not a campaign slogan. That actually comes out of unelected technocrats in Europe, World Economic Forum. Build Back Better basically means revamp us into what we call a Fourth Reich, a one world Marxist globalist power elite control. And they're going to do it through a few ways. Number one, digital currency. Two, they're going to control the banks. And what we found out, which was fascinating, is in this proposal, the banking system, the government gets what is called a golden share. This golden share is for the banking system and corporations, meaning the government will now have a golden share in all corporations. Now, what does that mean? It means that the government can dictate to you as a corporation and a bank what you can and cannot do. So for instance, if they don't want you selling guns, they will just tell you you can't. And if you don't comply, they will override the board with their golden share. They will control the financing that you get through the banking system. So when it comes to guns, when it comes to religious freedom, and we can go on in finance, how they will control us. Why would they want to control us, people might think? It's about political, they don't want you to be kind of a political divergent, you can say. If you don't come along with the Fourth Reich concept or the one world socialist order, then you become an enemy. We want to shut you down. We will do that through the corporate management and the financial management. Now, one good news that took place is, Mr. Biden had put up a nominee to control the currency. It was to be comptroller of currency. She was literally a graduate of Lenin University. She was from the Soviet Union and was a communist. Her papers, her speeches, everything say it. She was coming in to control the banking system and was going to turn over the private banking system, you and I, we the people's banking system, to the federal government. So the government, the Federal Reserve, would be the dictate of who gets money and who doesn't. And you can just imagine how horrifying that becomes politically, especially to we the people in the church. Once they control the banking system with these golden shares, and then they control the corporations, you can see where that leads. And the second component to this, which was very concerning, we just saw, now this was in Swedish, so unfortunately we can't play the video here, but they in Sweden, they have been testing where they are putting microchips into the hands of individuals.
I saw
These
that.
microchips were mainly for corporations. You go into your gym, you can get into your office building. You don't need your keys for your car, especially electric vehicles. You see where that's going? You don't need a lot of myriad of things. Well, they just expanded it in Sweden and came out and said that the chip in your hand can also be your vaccine passport.
There you go.
Now, not only is it your vaccine passport, your health records, your social profile, your banking records. You now see in Germany and some of the other countries that we call Davos overthrown. They've been taken over by the Davos crowd. These are the power elites that are going to run this world order. They were telling people in certain provinces, you can't even go to grocery stores if you don't get the jab. Now, I contend that the jab has nothing to do with the jab because there's obviously other therapeutics. This has something to do with sticking the chip in your hand, allowing them to have master control where you go, what you do, and how you buy and sell. Wow, right? I mean, we talked about this in the Christian world, but we have never really seen it happen. It's actually, you can Google it. It's actually happening in Sweden. These chips are I believe they're the test run. And so when you see the market system melting up like this, it is preparing us for a systemic collapse. And the reason it's important to recognize this has been nothing but money printing. That's why we're seeing high gas prices, food prices, rent prices, everything rising. Inflation is real, and it's not going to slow down. They will crash the dollar by design. And in that process, people will beg for a solution. I think that comes in where if they get their way, they align us up with digital money. Sweden is already testing out the chip in our hand. AKA we know mark of the beast, right? Can't buy or sell without it, can't enter these facilities without it. I find it extraordinarily concerning. And when they crash that system, if we are not properly prepared, we in the kingdom will not be there for our families and our ministry support, because we will need to help one another. This isn't something just survival of the fittest. This is something we'll need to do as a community, as a church. But with this type of control they're looking at, with corporate control, banking control, and now looking to stick chips in the hand, you can see what's going to come to the kingdom, to the church. We saw how they shut down our ability to go to church and worship, yet Walmart was open. So the hypocrisy tells you this is insidious. And these developments with the vaccine passport in the hand tells you what they're trying to do. They're trying to scare us. We in the kingdom have got to stand on that scripture. I did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, dunamis power, supernatural miracle power that raised Christ from the dead type, and love and a sound mind. We have to use the sound mind, and the part of love means we need to be there for one another. And when we see our friends and our relatives and our people at our congregations operating in fear, we have got to stop the fear. This is not real like they're saying. Obviously, they can create bioweapons. They can create these viruses. That's not the point. It's everything behind it. The controlling of the banking system. This is all Build Back Better. So when we hear Build Back Better and they're trying to pass this legislation, Build Back Better, and it's going to help, it's not helping. The inflation itself hurts the very people they say they're helping. Inflation hurts the middle class and especially the poor the most as food and energy costs rise. One of the only things we're going to be able to do, people, if they realized how cheap gold and silver is right now compared to the amount of currency in dollars they're printing, they will be in for a big surprise when they see gold upwards to 20,000 an ounce and silver hundreds of dollars an ounce. People don't believe that's going to happen. But when you see behind the scenes how they're trying to take over the corporate world and the banking world and link it all into this chip mechanism that's going into the hand. Now, for those that are sitting here right now going, oh gosh, this is about conspiracy. Number one, it's actually happening. But the ultimate proof, Stan, all you have to do is look at China. China is doing all of this right now. You can't get on buses or trains. You can't do anything without that chip mechanism control. And they're doing it through the cell phones. But it's changing. China has a social credit system. That's what they want to attach to our banking system. So when the government takes over our banking system, they will attach a social credit to it as well. So who do you go visit on the internet? What sites are you seeing? Are you extremely Christian, right?
We'll be right back with more right after this. Hello again. This is the Watchman. Please join us each week for an exciting and inspirational podcast dealing with angel encounters, heavenly visitations, near-death experiences, as well as modern-day prophecies that are relevant to us today. So tune in each week and share it with your friends. After all, they could use a little inspiration in their life, too. That's the Watchman on the Wall podcast, and now you can find us on YouTube. We return now with Terry Saka and Stan Johnson.
A lot of people may now understand this part of it, Stan. I'm not sure. Why are they so afraid of Christians? It's a good question, right? It's because those that are running this I call are Luciferians, whether it's conscious or subconscious. They're operating on the devil's behalf for sure. They're afraid of the dunamis power, those that understand the shed blood of Christ power over the enemy. Behold, I give you authority, trample serpent and scorpion, which are demonic power, and over all the power of the enemy. Christianity is the only religion that has the authority over the dark side.
Correct.
That's why they don't trust us. That's why they want to shut us down.
We are their target.
We are the target because we have spiritual realm authority over them.
Right.
And we need to keep coming together and doing that. Now, how do we do that if we're wiped out? How do we do that if we're controlled? We don't. That's why it's vital to know they're planning this. So we position ourselves properly, protect ourselves properly. So as they evolve this plan, I guess we could say, which I contend they're going to fail. I'd like to see it. I like to hope that. I know you say that all the time. We have to pray and continue to do that they fail. But we must be prepared, because in order to usher in, to wrap kind of this up in the context, in order to usher all of this in, they're going to, by design, collapse the system financially. The market's already been up. If you look at the real professionals out there all over the world, they say this is so unreasonable. And my concern is it's the retail people, the mom and pop, the mutual fund buyers that are the ones buying into the top. And in my training at A.G. Edwards, when that happens, the cycle is getting ready to roll over. They get the mom and pops to buy into the top of the market as the big inside sellers are selling into the market. And that's why it seems like it's staying up. Even though it's kind of looking crashy, it's only afloat because they're being tricked. But we are very, very near, after maybe a melt up takes place, we are very near, by design, a systemic collapse. Not just in the market system, but in the crypto system as well, so they can usher in the central bank digital currencies, and in the dollar. So when we think inflation is bad now, people have no idea what inflation really is. We are on the verge of almost hyperinflation. And this is very, very scary for those that are in the poor and more of the middle class, because they have to manage and the dollars don't buy as much. So while we're going through this, which seems to be a scary time, I believe if we say, I rebuke fear, I don't acknowledge it, I will not be afraid of this. Do what we can to position ourselves. Get our finances in a tangible asset we control. If we study history, especially like the Roman Empire and the others, those who held on to the tangible assets, real gold, real silver at the time, as they were melting it down, aka printing money, those were the ones that had wealth after the fact. And I always go back to Job 27, where he says, wicked pile up silver like dust, because the wicked pile up now currency and paper like dust. We in the kingdom get what God gave us, Haggai 2:8, gold and silver. All through history, no matter what someone says, gold and silver have always been stable money. And the biggest irony, I'll kind of end on the market stand. People think gold and silver, well, it doesn't seem like it's moving, even though gold's near the all-time high. In the last 20 years alone, since 9/11, gold has so significantly outperformed the stock market, it's astounding. Because the stock market has had a couple crashes, and during that time, the stock market's up a few 100%. Gold is up almost 600%. And we're just getting started. So it was always a storage of value over time. Now, minus things like Google or Apple or individual stocks. But I mean, for just the market, which most people are invested in, mutual funds invest in broad market. Gold has been outperforming and silver is outperforming, in the last 20 years. It does. So it's not, I guess you could say it's not exciting because you're not looking at your quarterly returns, but it's physical. It's real. It's biblical money. It's constitutional money, Article 1, Section 8. They don't want you thinking that way because they want your money in the system. That's why the insiders are selling to the retail mom pops right now. But with what we see coming in the Build Back Better plan, not just by Mr. Biden, but by those in Europe. And now we see Sweden going into the microchip into the hands with the vaccine passport. You could see their plan. And then at the end of it, they're hyping up now this new variant of a virus. That's totally fake. Do you know they have no testing mechanism for that? They don't have a test that understands that it's a new variant. It's all a lie. The PCR test is a lie. The person who designed it will tell you that. So when you see them lying, the question is why? We know it's because they want to usher in this great reset, this great realignment, which is global Marxism, which we would know as a Fourth Reich takeover. But we in the kingdom have authority. And I believe if we protect and preserve ourselves right, stay straight up in that word, keep wisdom and understanding close, we will have financial wealth as it transfers to us instead of go away from us. We will have spiritual wisdom on decisions and how we can navigate our communities and our relationships. And I believe this isn't a time to be afraid. I believe it's a time to be empowered with knowledge, because as watchmen like you and like myself, I may be in business, Stan, but I tell you what, I probably spend more time on analysis of what they're trying to do and the wisdom and understanding I'm given by the Lord as to what they're doing, and try to connect those dots as you're doing. As we connect these dots, Stan, we can give the people in the audience power to navigate their day and be encouraged for the future.
Terry, I must compliment you. I mean, I know we're friends and everything, but I must compliment you. I am amazed at your understanding. I thought only a prophecy student, someone in my position would understand and have that kind of a grip on what's going on. But you, brother, have done your homework, and you have really, wow, you have really done some research and put it all together. You understand where it's going. Okay, so now.
Well, you know what it is, Stan? I read the proverb of the day. I listen to the Bible. I'm deep. I listen to your programs. I listen to.
Now I can tell you've been listening.
It is so important because what I've learned, this is for me, Stan, what I've learned. Sometimes I'm like, well, what do I read, Lord? What do I do? I already read that story. But what I'm learning, as we just dedicate ourselves to the word, it speaks to us differently. And it speaks to us in our circumstance. So more important than ever, just continue to get in that word and the wisdom. Proverbs chapter 4. I'll tell everyone, read Proverbs chapter 4. Get wisdom. Get understanding. He will speak to you in your spirit. Then we will know what decisions to make. Amen. We will have peace of mind for what's coming, because one thing we're not to do is to be afraid, because we've got God on our side. Amen. We got the shed blood of Jesus Christ. And boy, they're running when we say that.
So someone is thinking about getting into this precious metals, or perhaps adding to their portfolio. What do you suggest they do?
Well, what I would also like to say is go to YouTube and go to Wealth Transfer News. We actually have a television program in Christian television, but we also broadcast pieces in YouTube at Wealth Transfer News. So I would say go look for us there and subscribe. Help us be a partner there, because we will also like to share in with your program as well, Stan. But give us a call at Cornerstone. Talk to the representatives. Go to the website at Cornerstone Asset Metals. Register for information. If anything, start the process of learning how, so you can have peace of mind. You can call us, register, but just start the process of getting peace of mind so you can protect and preserve what he's entrusted you with. And believe me, every coin counts. You know, we have people that buy just a few coins up to tens of thousands of coins. It's just a matter of what you can do and what God puts on your heart. Because anything outside the paper system is vital right now, because that paper system is a Trojan horse, paper tiger, like you wouldn't believe. And I just don't want to see us in the kingdom get burned.
And I don't even know if it's legal for you to answer this, but should a person get gold, silver, palladium, or rhodium?
Well, it definitely is legal, but gold is stable. Gold is always money. It is tier one money, meaning it's equal in transaction to currency and U.S. treasuries, which, by the way, U.S. treasuries, wait till you see what happens to the bond market. But silver is probably the best thing we can do. It's the most manipulated because the supply is a problem. Silver is used in everything we do. Every computer, every electronic, your bathroom mirror, you name it, solar systems, the electric cars. If you saw the hundreds of millions of ounces of silver needed for electric vehicles, and yet the world is moving to electric. Silver is the what I call the perfect storm. They've been keeping the price down, number one, to mask the dollar's demise, and two, to supply the industrial complex with cheap material. But it's all changing. If you saw the market system, and what's taking place really underneath, you would realize silver is set to explode. And that's probably why Shane Warren had that vision. That's probably why that prophecy student of yours, had that dream. I really believe silver is the one, but if you, depending on the amount of money, gold is good because it doesn't crash as hard. Silver can kind of go up and down, it's volatile. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. If you hold the physical silver in your hands or in a vault or depository, it's yours. So it doesn't matter what the price does. But where we're going to see substantial increase in price of gold and silver merely because the paper money is going to be printed into the trillions, if not quadrillions, to crash the system, to usher us into this great reset. Physical assets at that point then can be sold, transferred, bartered, but at least you have it. We have people who trade. There's people in the Northwest right now. They'll trade silver for a tractor or they trade with each other. It's real money. That's why it's so important. My concern, I guess, Stan, is if we have everything in paper, everything in the stock market, everything in a retirement account, especially the IRAs, you could put those easily into physical silver and gold. If everything is in paper, we are taking a very big risk at a time. If you saw the charts, the financial charts, you would not want to take that level of risk. If anything, pare the risk down, 50-50, split it up, start getting into tangible assets. I know a lot of people say land, Stan, is good. Land is good. Land is great, but it's not liquid and you can't divide it up. Where gold and silver, you can transfer, let's say silver, it's going to be real soon, I'm sure, $100 an ounce. So it's a $100 bill per ounce. You can divide it. Land, you can't. So we have to be very wise in our diversification of our tangible assets. But I would encourage folks, if anything, those that are feeling it on their heart, it's time. It's getting ready. Do not procrastinate. I don't mean to make light of it or laugh, but if you see the data I see, it's astounding. And when you see what they're trying to do in the banking system and with these chips and vaccine passports, you know what they're doing. It's only a couple years away. The market crash has to happen, though. The dollar has to crash in order for the people to be fearful enough to allow the government to usher in an entire new system. And that is absolutely unacceptable. And I want to stand in agreement that it doesn't happen. But right now, they're going to crash it anyway. When they crash that system, Stan, we need to be prepared.
Okay, so in conclusion, the people are thinking about getting some kind of gold, silver, rhodium, or palladium. How do they get a hold of you, and what are the first steps you recommend they do to get going?
Well, I would definitely go to cornerstoneassetmetals.com. I believe that's here on the screen. I would register for information, and we will call you and we'll walk you through the process. We'll explain to you your options, which is very important, especially for those folks in IRAs or 401ks. You can protect those. You can roll those over. And I know even for you, Stan, we offered for those doing IRAs, we were even taking care of these setup fees. So they didn't have to have transfer fees, which is a really big deal. That could add up to hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And we take care of that for them so they can transfer it over into physical silver. or give us a call, 888-747-3309. Talk to a representative. And the good news is all of us here at Cornerstone, we're all like-minded. We've gone to Bible school together, most of us. I mean, we're pretty seriously on fire. We may even have a pretty good God talk with you. But the point is, this is kind of a ministry / business, the way we look at it. Because if we do what we're supposed to do, we protect our assets properly, and we stay peaceful in our soul and our spirit, we can be victorious when this happens, and we can lead out of this instead of be the victim in it.
Amen.
Well, there you have it. It's not only good to hear from a Christian perspective on what's going on now, but someone who is also in the business of knowing financially what the world is doing and where we're headed. Just as a personal perspective, I've dealt with Cornerstone Asset Metals and found them very professional. I've dealt with others as well, but I think I've got that Boy Scout mentality of always being prepared, and I hope you do too. So I hope you found this episode helpful. If it has helped you in any way, please give me a comment, and if you want to contact me, my email is thewatchmanonthewall2020@gmail.com. That's thewatchmanonthewall2020@gmail.com. Hello again, this is The Watchman. Please join us on our new video channel called Encounters from Beyond the Veil. It's the same exciting content as our audio podcast, but in a shorter, but yet a video format. Also, please subscribe so you won't miss any of our episodes. That's Encounters from Beyond the Veil, exclusively found on YouTube. Well, thanks again for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends. Also, give us a like. We welcome any comments or suggestions you might have. We also ask you to subscribe so that you will be notified of all our future episodes. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Watchman on the Wall podcast.